you say is the strengths and weaknesses, pitfalls to avoid of trying to do an entirely in-house performed wargaming exercise?
You get extra buy-in and credibility sometimes when you have an internal group that knows the lingo, and they can they're not going to be rejected as much because, well, these are our guys and we train them more.
There's no immune system response from the organization.
Necessarily. Sometimes it's not, if it was invented here, you don't respect the stuff that was in your backyard. You want external folks to come in. But to me, the real risk is that, if you knew everything about the world, you'd probably be 20, 150 times more profitable or whatever. We only can know so much, and to have people come in from the outside, you're going to overcome your assumptions. And one of the things particularly about the future, you have so many unexamined assumptions, and if you try and go off those without collecting data and without having somebody there to say, I don't know what your culture is and I don't care, I will be gone tomorrow. But had you considered this? Mm-hmm. If you're not checking that against your, outside forces in the form of data or different opinions or whatnot, you're very likely to do one of these exercises and think that you've learned something, when really you just sort of convinced yourselves that the way you think about things is still great. Drinking your own bathwater, I guess.
There's another important aspect, which is a multi-industry background. The ability to be a towering expert in one particular industry, such as pharmaceuticals, for example, is great. And certainly, there is a discovery curve, certainly around individual industries. But the ability to bring really a multi-industry perspective to things is a very powerful capability that I think increases the analytic perspective of every one of the participants in a war game or in a scenario analysis exercise, and ultimately allows you to take lessons learned from one industry, apply them to another, or to even see things that you hadn't expected. For example, no one would have expected Blockbuster to lose its market position to Netflix because they weren't thinking about indirect disruptive competition emerging that wasn't something that they would recognize.
Mm-hmm. Last but not least, you get so many companies, the reality is they keep using the same things over and over. So, same people, same background, same discussions, we're going to come up with the same answers, same results, same responses. And it's problematic. So one of the huge advantages of being able to go outside every now and then and to have some outside experts or insights brought into your process is it allows you to change the kind of methodological tacks. It allows you to change the nature of the discussion. It allows you to address all of those assumptions. It gives you new perspectives, and you've got to you've got to purposefully inject new perspectives into the process, into your fabric every now and then if you're going to end up being able to meet discontinuity, disruptions, again, stochastic change, things like that. You've got to inject it in, and that requires more than most companies have the ability to do in-house. I don't know many companies, and I've been doing research on companies and analysis process for better part of 3 decades now. I don't know too many companies that I would consider highly capable of being able to do a diverse, continuously improving analytical capability, and that's a concept I try to use a lot. If you're good at something, we're good at something. We measure how good we are. We measure to improve. And if you look at companies, you ask them, can you analyze things better today than you did 5 years ago? Most of them can't even tell you how they did 5 years ago. They can't tell you how they do today. If you never, if you don't know where you started or where you're going, there's 1,000 ways to get there. And this is problematic. So nobody takes the time to measure performance improvement in this area. And frankly, the performance isn't very good to start with.
Eric, do you have something?
They've been able to get away with it because we've had rising GDP year over year.
Floats.
Yep, particularly in the United States. When in post-war, we didn't have a lot of competition from countries that had just bombed all their infrastructure out. And then the peaceful conclusion of the Cold War in the 90s, more globalization. There's been this, rising tide of exactly the same economic system. And I think when I consider the bigger picture, that we are entering a type of networked world, a type of, post-nation state world of economies where our banks are tied together, but we have regional currency. It's not going to be like it was before. And the idea that we're going to just have endless growth probably isn't the case. So if you're going to, the reason that these guys got away with it for 30 and 40 years is because things were going well in general.
The ability to operate in the future where mistakes don't matter and they can be covered up by the overall trend of growth is something that's going to start to break down. And in fact, the only real source of productivity in the future is through simplifying the business models that our organizations have. We don't need to build things up. We need to deconstruct those elements of the value chain that are not performance defining for the customer base and ultimately appeal to new customer needs that we haven't thought about in the past.
How many companies do you know that have gone through an exercise where they've actually analyzed their business models? I mean, when was the last time you heard somebody tell you, yeah, we've done our business model analysis and this is the piece we know we need to...
It ain't broke,
right,
don't fix it.
Right,
yeah.
right. Doesn't happen.
So let's talk, guys, about what we've covered here today. Let's do a little recap. We talked about flight simulator as it relates to business. Being that Captain Sully that can land your ship in a very tumultuous situation, having that opportunity to be a CEO that can have that forward-thinking ability on non-sunny days, as you shared, Eric. The environmental effects on your business and the variables at play. Being intelligence fit, Craig, and thinking about how you need to train yourself for that one performance day, where you're being asked to be at the World Championships, be that elite athlete that you train every single day to be. And I think using some of those examples like we talked about within pharmaceuticals, within some of these other industries, cell phones, has made for a really exciting topic. And I want to thank each of you for being here with me today. Craig, Eric, Marek, thank you very much. And we're sure to bring some exciting new topics to the future as well.